yeah, we are in the place to be.
All right, we're back with another edition of the Scuttlebutt Tavern podcast. I am
Back again.
Yeah, back again for. I think this is the 8th episode. I think we're on episode number 8.
Episode 8.
Yeah, we can't be like, oh, it's the Octagon episode because that's copyrighted, and we're not allowed to have copyrighted shit on our stuff.
No, we can't, however, say 8 because it's just a different language.
Yeah,
One that we can sample languages.
yeah.
We can sample cultural differences.
The Octo episode.
Octo episode.
It is, but yeah.
Later on, we'll have a dodecasode.
We will. And then eventually we'll just, hey, guess what? There's the fucking pizza dude.
That's good timing.
Oh, yeah. Actually, you know what? We could probably just stop this.
No,
Oh, we're just going to leave this in?
let it rock.
We're just going to let this shit ride.
This is a real deal.
Yeah. Live pizza delivery.
This is what you get.
Yeah.
This is real life.
You know what? Sometimes when you're recording a podcast, people order pizza. You know, shit happens.
I love pizza.
I love pizza too. You know what?
Or you better not be talking shit about pizza.
You know what? I'm going to talk some shit on some fucking pizza. You ready for this shit?
Phew, I don't think you're ready for a shit talk about pizza.
I think I am. Actually, you know what? Pizza's really delicious, especially if you get like a good pizza and then you do it over like in a smoker sort of situation.
Let's rap about pizza. My favorite's the biggest, deepest dish pizza, the thick ones.
Oh, the thick dish pizzas.
Yeah.
The thick dick pizzas.
You were about to say that. I heard it and I didn't want to expose it, but you went for it. You were about to say that. But then again, thin crust pizza is fine as well. I noticed that I like them just as good, but I ain't paying more money for it.
No.
That's bullshit. I've seen a lot of places charge more for a thin crust, and that's fucked up.
Yeah, it's just thinner crust.
It's like you give me less and you're charging me more. I'll just kick your ass.
It's because it's specialty. It's like, well, go fuck yourself. Because guess what? The crust should not be any fucking different from price to price. Because you know what? It's the same fucking shit.
Yeah.
It's just one's a little bit thinner, one's a little bit thicker, one's, one's going to have a little bit more water added to it. So there's going to be a little bit more of a different recipe. But most places, their fucking thin crusts are already ordered. They don't even make them there.
It's true. Yeah, a lot of places aren't making their...
The only place that I really know, especially here in town, is unless you went to an actual pizzeria. Like, I don't know about like actual pizzerias, but like as far as like name brand chains go, Papa Murphy's, they got, they do their own thin crust.
Yeah, well, you know what's even funnier than that? Like Little Caesars does their own. Their thin crust starts as a dough at their store.
Oh, it does?
Yeah, I thought that was kind of funny. So I've been ordering them pretty regularly. They're good.
Huh.
It's awesome.
That's weird.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't...
Which, it's like their pizzas are standard like $5 or $6. Getting a thin crust there is like $1 more or whatever, but that's fine because it's cheap already.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Well, yeah, the thing is like you go to like any sort of chain restaurant and like a carry-out pizza is going to cost you $10.
Yeah.
Whereas like with fucking Little Caesars, but Little Caesars never really fucked around with like delivery or shit like that. But then again, dude, I'm going to tell you, Casey's Pizza is where it's at though.
Oh, yeah.
It's a gas station pizza, which is so fucking crazy. It's like, it's not this like actual like restaurant.
Their shit's really good. Like whenever I used to go down to Nixa and work with my dad for some side monies and stuff like that, we'd go to lunch break and it's like, damn, let's just go to Casey's and not McDonald's.
Yeah.
Buy a couple individual slices. That's so much better than a McDouble.
Yeah. You know what? Honestly, just fuck McDonald's. Though.
For real.
Just fuck it.
Real.
It's so terrible. It's just so terrible. But the thing is what's really crazy is like at a certain point, like if you don't eat it for a certain amount of time, you lose like the taste of McDonald's.
And then it's okay again.
Like for that first time, like, but it's kind of like, a lot of like hardcore drugs to where when you do them, it's like the first time is the best, but when you continue and chase that high over again, it's just it's not there.
I don't know. Anymore, I've noticed with McDonald's, I don't like most of their crap. I don't like most of the crap there that they have that's their beef patty. It's like, oh, I'm just sick of that thing. I'm sick of their tiny ass wannabe beef patty thing. But then again, like I don't mind their nuggets or the fish sandwich or anything. I always thought those were pretty good. But I watched something interesting attached to that, actually, now that I mentioned that. There was a fishing show that I was watching on TV, and there's this big ass boat that would take on hundreds of tons of Alaskan pollock at a time.
Yeah.
And they said that there's a good chance that, like, no matter where you're at, if you're eating a fillet of fish from McDonald's, it probably came from that ship. And like they showed one of the bags they were scooping in, dude, with hundreds of tons of Alaskan cod in it, or pollock. And this fucking bag was the size of the ship, and it was full of these fish. It was fucking crazy. One pull was hundreds of tons. It was like, my God.
And you know what? And see, that's kind of like one of the issues with commercial fishing, because it's literally just yanking all of the life out of the sea.
Yeah.
You know, it's like at a certain point, you know, we got to figure out something with that. But, you know, that means you're going to have to, like, I mean, think about it. To stop commercial fishing, that means you would have to solve, like, pretty much the age-old conundrum. How do you feed people? You know, and at this point, civilization has gotten so big to where it's like, how do you logistically, like, here in America, what do we have, like 350 million people? How do you feed 350 million people? I don't even understand.
I think people would really have to attach themselves to trying more vegetables, because I think that even the people that try to eat vegetables are kind of limited to the ones they really like, and they don't really cook with too many. Like me, on the other hand, like I cook a shit ton, and as far as vegetables go, there's really only a handful that are like available at all times at the supermarket that I don't just buy.
Right.
I'm messing with peppers and onions, garlic, zucchinis, and tomatoes and all that shit.
Well, I don't think it's just necessarily like vegetables, or, you know, because even the people in like on the vegetable end, like the agriculture in that way, they're talking about there's only like so many harvests left, pretty much. Like we've got like a span of time to where shit's going to start getting kind of rough. You know, because the thing is large scale agriculture takes a lot out of the soil, and we're not being able to replenish the soil as quickly. And also there's a lot of soil erosion because of the fact that we're getting more and more intense rainstorms because, you know, shit's kind of starting to warm up. So everything's starting to become a little bit more volatile. So because of that, it's causing the topsoil to erode a lot faster. So we're not exactly getting the right amount of soil, or basically the right type of soil, in order to be able to do a lot of these large scale agricultures. Plus, not only that, like there is the fact that these combines that do run through like all these fields, they're just hard. Like you're talking ground nesting birds and fucking like deer fawns, and like, dude, this thing's chewing up animals left and right. So it like just, it's not necessarily like it's not necessarily ethical. It's not like someone's out there picking ears of corn off the stalk and then putting them into a bushel. It's this huge blade that just runs through everything. And if there's something in its path, it's getting ground up and put in.
There's a lot of areas too with those cornfields and things like that don't get enough rain, and all the water they come from are like reservoirs underground that get taken from these big irrigation systems above ground.
Yeah.
And you've probably seen them if you're driving miles and miles across the West.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like
they're the big the long pipes that have like stilts on them and shoot squirts every once in a while.
Yeah.
Most of those are liquefied or taking their water from the reservoirs underground. And I've heard a lot about those things because the documentary I was watching said that this year, 2020, they'd be down to 1/5 remaining water in that reservoir.
Yeah.
And a lot of those states supply the corn we get. You know, that's our corn. And I mean, they supply so much of it, but if they don't get any rain and the reservoir's gone, then you could say goodbye to that tortilla chip being as cheap as it is, as well as any just access to fresh corn.
But you know what? The thing is like we heavily base a lot of our like agriculture on soybean and corn and like beef and pig and chicken and that sort of stuff. But the thing is, it's like I think the more and more we actually come to find out about corn and how it actually reacts with our body and the nutritional like value of corn, I think we actually end up finding that corn's not a very healthy thing to really be eating. Our bodies don't necessarily process it the best.
No.
Like, it does process it a little bit. I mean, and also think about it like this. When you eat corn, when I eat corn, I shit corn.
Right.
So it's like...
Well, it's your body processes correctly the internal kernel, but like not the actual like shell. Not very well anyway. And corn's great, but I just don't eat tons of it. I love it. It's one of my favorite vegetables, but I don't eat tons of it.
Honestly, my favorite vegetable is probably broccoli.
Here's a good way actually around that corn problem. Dude, broccoli's the jam.
Yeah.
No, fresh broccoli for sure. I don't even cook it too much. You just cook it to blanch it to give it
to where it's just nice and crisp.
Yeah, and then I crunch on it real good. It's the best. It's a must in stir fries and Chinese food.
Oh, yeah. And also a little bit of smoked broccoli, if you can smoke it with some little bit of indirect heat and keep it crunchy.
I did that recently with the kebabs I made. You just do a real easy like marinade for like 6 hours on just the chicken, and it's like just soy sauce, garlic, honey, lemon juice, and some random pepper, all that shit.
Yeah.
And then the vegetables was zucchini and green pepper and broccoli. And I was like, I don't know if I can actually kebab a broccoli, but they're saying online, like, go ahead and kebab like beef and broccoli and have yourself like a takeout skewer. It's the best thing ever. And I was like, oh, that sounds cool. But it worked out really well. I put it on there. I was kind of worried about it because it's a flame, but I spread the coals out kind of evenly so there wouldn't be real big hot spots. And then it comes up off of their smoky tasting broccoli, and it's crisp still, man. It was awesome. With all the vegetables and chicken that I had, you could only fit like 2 or 3 pieces of broccoli per skewer, but they were good. That's the cool thing about kebabs. They got so much variety throughout the skewer that it's really easy to stretch out protein because it's only 1/3 of the skewer usually.
Right. And you know what? Also about the kebab, you eat it much slower because you're eating piece by piece instead of eating like, and that's something I find is I eat really fast.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I kind of feel like I need to eat fast, especially for lunch, just because it's like I need to get back to work, and there's things I want to do on lunch. Usually it's mainly to like do my inversion table in order to like just stretch out my back and get some like decompression going and make everything kind of feel better and do some different like little back stretches in order to get ready to go back to work. And since I have the time to be able to do it, I just need to eat fast in order to be able to like crunch it all in. Yeah. Because if I have something to where, because I've had those days to where I got an hour lunch, I have time to come home and cook a pretty quick like thing. And I've done that many of times. Just come home, especially eggs. I usually like if I have to cook something on lunch, it's usually eggs. But it's because it seems like when I eat eggs, it's just easy to they go in easy, and I just feel great when I eat eggs.
Eggs are really good and very cheap.
Yeah.
And they're hard to mess up.
Oh, very hard. And they're very quick. If you're talking about a super quick meal, I mean, you just throw some fucking eggs into a pan with some oil, some of your just salt and pepper or some sort of like seasoning like Lowry's or some sort of Creole seasoning or something like that. Just like something that has like a salt content, and then put black powder onto it. And if you don't like black powder...
You're talking about gunpowder, right? Because that's what I eat. It makes me ravenous, but it brings out the beast in me. I eat it up. I get revved up.
Yeah, you put black powder on that motherfucker.
Look, you don't have to. If you're gonna go out for an evening on a ravenous gunpowder fueled rampage, you just eat that gunpowder. But
if you want to get ready for work.
yeah. If you got to put in work,
you need some explosiveness in there. So I put Creole seasoning and black powder into my eggs.
Yeah, it's flammable. So season with the powder after the cooking process.
I do it before.
It's fine.
If it doesn't flame up, that means it's cooked in.
There you go. Yeah, it's just seared the deal.
That is. Mm-hmm. And then when you eat it, it's all like.
Yeah. Oh, it's that time. Oh, I'm getting mad.
Yeah. Oh.
I got to go to work.
My got this.
Apparently, I've heard that they would put gunpowder into like when they had fighting dogs on a regular basis, they put gunpowder in their food to make them more vicious. Oh, I didn't know that would happen, but I guess they did it. I always remembered that.
That's cruel.
Yeah, it's awful. But back whenever they used to fight dogs, when dog fighting was,
I don't even know if that would actually. I think it would just make their fucking stomachs super upset.
and so they're upset.
Yeah.
Probably.
And I think that's what they were probably doing. It's like every time I eat gunpowder, my stomach gets upset. And I'm pissed.
Yeah, every time, dude.
Every time my stomach's upset. But no, but throw some like black pepper.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Pepper.
Delicious.
Yeah.
Boy, I love black pepper. Boy, I love white pepper. There's so many different kinds. I got a mixed pepper grinder, and there's green pepper.
Wait.
Yeah. There's like green, red, black, and white peppers. And it's like, goodness gracious. I had no idea there's so many different kinds of peppercorns to choose from.
That seems like a Costa Rica, like a fucking like some sort of like islander flag, just the black, white, and green.
It was weird. I saw it in the jar and I was like, I don't understand what these little balls are. And then it's like, oh, these are all different peppercorns. This is kind of cool. And you grind them up and it's pretty awesome. But like, I should have probably just tasted it on its own because I cook it in dishes and it's really hard to tell at that point. But
Yeah.
White pepper is kind of popular, but I didn't know about those other ones. Green pepper? Huh?
I didn't even know there was other than black peppercorn.
Funny little peppercorns. You're finding all sorts of varieties of weird colors in foods nowadays. Cauliflowers come in green, purple, and orange now, as well as just the standard white.
Well, I knew cauliflower had purple cauliflower. I did know about that one.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, the green one, since actually broccoli and cauliflower are of the same like genus or whatever,
yeah.
they're just slightly different, and the green one is really close to broccoli, and a lot of people call it broccaflower, and it's kind of funny looking. I want to know where to get one. I'd like to try it. I'd like to try a purple one too. The purple ones are apparently I would think a little more pricey or something, because you always see them on like a gourmet menu. It's like, oh, purple roasted cauliflower wedge with, goat cheese, blah, blah, blah. I don't know the recipe. It would probably be really good, though. I do like cauliflower wedges. I like doing cauliflower wedges with the cheese sauce, and those are terrific. Roasted whole head cauliflower is my jam. Hey, broccaflower, there you go. See? It looks weird, doesn't it? It's spiky.
That shit right there?
Yeah, that's it.
Dude, that looks like shit out of a video game.
Yeah, it looks kind of like a strange, like a sci-fi food.
You know what? If someone was like, here's this alien, like if you're like, we found this on a different planet and you showed me that, I'd be like, yes, you did.
The weird shape of the buds on it, too. It's like you could break off big, like, bite-sized pieces. 2 bites off of this. 2 bites off of this.
That looks like it would be great for stir fry.
There's even that orange one, too. And if you look at this green one here, when it's cut, that one you can see is kind of related to broccoli. It seems kind of familiar in shape at that point.
It looks like they spray painted it.
What's weird is the florets are much firmer. That's probably the biggest difference. The florets on a broccoli are really loose, and they're like follicles. Meanwhile, on like a cauliflower, it's not as loose at all. It's like a clump, and that's what gives it that really satisfying crunch. Boy, I like me some cauliflower.
Huh. That's some fucking crazy shit.
They look
I do like
pretty weird. Yeah, those are crazy looking, but they'd probably be pretty good. I'd like to try one. Strange. See, that green one's a little bit more puffy and cloudy in shape, like a regular cauliflower. It didn't look as spicy.
Yeah, but see, there's your purple.
And the orange one, too. That one looks pretty bizarre.
That one, yeah, like a head of cheese.
Yeah, it does. It looks like it. It's because I always put cheese on cauliflower. I think roasted cauliflower goes great with cheese. But that one looks cheesed already.
Yeah.
It's ready to rock.
Maybe that's what people need. They need yellow cauliflower so that way they can eat shit without fucking...
There would be a cool couple things to try and grow. Cauliflowers and broccolis. Because I love them both, and neither one's necessarily too cheap. A whole head of cauliflower is usually $3.
Yeah.
And I love it. And I just don't usually buy it because it's expensive. But I'd love to eat it on a daily basis. I would love a cauliflower all the time. Because I whole head roast it, and then you cut it into wedges.
Yeah, I mean... But see, I mean, you should. You should have a garden out back. I mean, it's not a bad way to go. I mean, back when I was living at my mom's house, like we had a garden out there, and we managed it, and we had zucchini and squash and tomatoes, all sorts of different peppers, and every day I just go out there and grab stuff out of the garden, fresh out of the garden, and just wash it, and then just do it up with some meat. Just either stir fry, or I would do like, I was doing a lot of fucking, what are they called? To where it's basically you have like a mix of vegetables that are cooked, and then you take eggs, and it just becomes like almost like a pizza, but with eggs.
That's a
frittata.
There you go.
That's what
I almost said falafel, but I didn't because I knew it was wrong.
I was about ready. I wanted to say fajita. It
was coming there.
It was close, but a frittata. Like I was making frittatas all the time, and I went from, I think I was that was when I was fat the first time.
Fat for the first time. And I was probably I was around 190 pounds, and we started doing that garden shit, and I was eating nothing but fresh vegetables and eggs, and just I didn't eat anything that had any sort of sugar, because all the vegetables came out of the garden, so all I really needed was the meat from the store. Yeah.
So I wasn't buying any really extra stuff, because because we had such an overflow of vegetables. I mean, because I was bringing vegetables to your house. I was like, just take them, you know, and you're like, what if I don't want them? I'm like,
I could make use of a lot of vegetables, but some that's just kind of like, I don't know about squashes. I don't know if I've ever messed with a squash.
Squash is pretty easy.
Zucchini's a kind of squash. I love zucchini.
And you know what? Squash is, it's really good.
Did you grill zucchini?
Yes, you can.
No, did you grill zucchini?
Yes, I did.
It's good.
Grilled zucchini, grilled squash is really great. I mean, and all you need to really do is just take the zucchini, and you know what? I recommend to do thicker slices when you grill them, just because you're dealing with
it'll definitely not shrink necessarily, but it does lose moisture to the flame, and so you get a reduction in like mass. It's not as springy on the bite, so you'd like to have more there whenever it has that effect.
Yeah, and also whenever you're grilling onto the grill, you also have the grill grates that are heating up. So, and also with a little bit thicker slices, if you go with a little bit thicker, it gives you that kind of room for error too.
I think another thing with grilling vegetables too is with meats, there's always kind of that rule with burgers, you leave it sit and you don't want to flip it a ton. You flip that one time, let it go for a while. I think vegetables need moved around quite a bit.
Oh yeah.
Get them moving as often as possible, turn them around, turn them again, turn them multiple times. Just try to keep it from burning black. Don't get a char on there, because that's not what you want on a vegetable.
No.
You'd like a good thick grill mark, but nothing beyond that.
Yeah, and I've certainly burnt vegetables onto the grill, and it's pretty inedible.
It sucks a lot worse than if you burn meat. That's for sure.
The thing is like, I haven't really ever overcooked meat out onto the grill. I mean, like, when I say overcooked, I haven't ever really burnt meat.
Sure.
Okay, I take that back. I have burned meat.
Right. I was about to say,
because
really?
It's no, because now thinking about it, because there was, I have done like chicken tender slices. I have done some of the chicken tender slices to where I was like, I'm just gonna do these real quick, and I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, and I ended up needing to be out there basically to stick them on, and then to sit there for like 6 minutes, and then to pull them off, because the grill was that hot.
Yeah.
And like, flip them, and then fucking, and just, it was one of those things to where the grill was way too hot. I should have been flipping them more often, so that way they cooked evenly on each side, but it was going to cook quickly.
Yeah.
This is when I was very new to grilling, but it was like basically fucking little hard ass briquettes of chicken. Yeah, that's Yeah, what are you going to do, though?
Well, the cool thing about grilling is, like, if you're grilling, especially with, like, charcoal, like hardwood lump and stuff like that, it's really hard to get an even cook on everything you've got unless you're kind of moving them around pretty regularly. So you come out with, like, different versions. You got this one leg, it's like it cooked a little bit more than one of the others, like, because I've been cooking a lot of chicken legs on the grill. They're so cheap.
Yeah.
You just very lightly season those bitches and toss them right on there. And the skin cooks up crispy like you didn't even need a breading. It's just badass is what it is. And it's so damn cheap. 5 pounds is like $4.50. It's silly. But they don't all cook quite the same. And I had one or two of them that burnt a little bit, and they weren't as good. Sometimes you get some cook but cooked on too cooked of skin that gets a char is not very pleasant.
No,
Luckily you can just pull it away. It's like, at that point.
Well,
but,
I don't know. It's like when it comes down to skin, it's a little. But also,
well, you can have it cooked good, but you don't want it black. Black
Okay, yeah,
skin is kind of like, oh man,
yeah. Well,
that's just carbon crunch.
there's
Which is my favorite cereal. Not to knock that. Carbon crunch.
Some carbon crunch.
Man, that turns my cereal
Fucking-
milk the perfect gray I need to start my day.
Oh yeah, that's the type of gray I need. But no, I mean, I don't know. Like I kind of feel like, yeah, no. With skin, you need a nice brown. Like
Yeah, when it cooks crispy correctly, it's full of so much fats that it's gonna cook crispy like it was fried. If
But
you
see,
just introduce it
that's
to
where
enough
you
heat.
need to get the butter out or the olive oil. And if you're really more thinking of like, oh, I want to be health conscious,
Well, if you're trying to be health conscious, you ain't eating chicken legs. You're going probably breast.
that is, well, I don't know. It's like, here's the thing. It's like a lot of people talk about like fat, like from animals, and it's just there's no supporting scientific evidence that says fat is actually bad for you, because a lot of the studies that they've done with people who have a high fat diet also have a high calorie diet as far as like sugar and other grains and stuff that doesn't have any really nutritional value other than calories. So when they talk about heart disease and a lot of this stuff, I mean, they want to try to attribute it to saturated fats, but they're not taking into account for the fact that there's these people that have done these studies. They're still living an unhealthy lifestyle, and people who are doing these polls are still living an unhealthy life. They don't go far enough into detail, and actually what they've figured out is that saturated fats on the lipid scale, which is for like high blood pressure and heart disease and all those sorts of things, that they don't really move like any sort of the needle or any sort of difference. Like it's not like it's not the saturated fats necessarily.
No.
And it's not saying that, but it's also not saying that carbohydrates are necessarily evil. It's just there's certain types of things that you shouldn't necessarily be putting into your body, like processed sugar and high fructose corn syrup and all these like additives that are being put into a lot of the products, and a lot of like these soy products, and like those have like very adverse reactions in people's bodies. And that's the reason why you see a high diabetes rate in America, because all our stuff has, high fructose corn syrup, has like, soybean something or other, something like some sort of derivative from soybean or like corn. So it's like sugar-based products. And that's really what it is. I mean, you really kind of think about it. If you had to eat your own food source, so let's say you have your backyard and you decided that you wanted to eat everything that you could grow. So you would grow a garden, you would probably have some sort of chicken coop or some sort of livestock to where you would manage it. You would most likely have a less likelihood of dying from diabetes and high blood pressure than anybody else, because what you would be eating is the stuff that you would be eating from like thousands of years ago. So it's the consistency of the food source of what we have been eating and what we should be eating. It's this high sugar diet that we've actually started intaking very recently that we've actually started seeing these problems, because we haven't ever, like, there's no point in time in history to where diabetes has ever been a leading cause of death. You know, like, among, like, there's a very high likelihood that a lot of people develop diabetes.
I think a big contributing factor is it's like limited diets too. A lot of these people that are really worried about their intake of like carbs and fats are probably not eating as much of the things they should be either, or at least have had a record of not doing it, and that's what led to their issues. Other people, I don't know as far as like diabetes necessarily, but like I work with a gentleman, for instance, who's very like carb conscious. He eats 0 carb everything.
Yeah.
But like this dude works out on a regular basis too. He's always going to the gym and stuff like that. And he's in very good shape. I don't know necessarily that that's all going to be contributed to his carb consciousness, or rather, in my opinion, that maybe he doesn't have to be as worried about it because he's in good shape.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I don't know that you have to worry about carbs. I don't think that's your problem.
I think with the carbs, part of the carbs like thing is part of the calorie counting thing. And I do think there is like, you can eat too much meat. Like, you could totally
check out Brock Lesnar.
Yeah. I mean, it's a fact. You can actually eat way too much meat. You can actually eat way too many vegetables. You can eat way too much. There's a balance to the thing is like, I find a lot of the nutrition thing, like, talk doesn't talk about portions of stuff. It just talks about what you can and can't eat.
Well, portions get important whenever you're a person that doesn't have a diverse eating pattern. Portions become important when you're only eating a single thing, and then you start maxing out, like eating far too much protein versus not eating anything else. It's like that big steak that's like 20 ounces or whatever. That's not terrible once in a while or everything, but that's the only thing you eat is meat. Then 20 ounces is a big deal because the last time you had a meal, it was similar. And then suddenly it's like this guy's only meal is meat. That's terribly bad for you.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't think it is necessarily, because there's people that have actually been talking about to where they have autoimmune diseases that to where eating nothing but meat actually helps their autoimmune diseases.
Well, fine, but then you got dudes like Brock Lesnar who strictly ate meat, and that is why he got diverticulitis and had several inches of his intestine removed. So
that's not the only way, because you can get diverticulitis by getting seeds stuck into your colon.
That's not what happened to him, though. His was from a strict diet of 0 vegetables and nothing but meat.
Well, that is also a cause of that.
I would just say it's safe to say don't eat nothing but meat. That's stupid.
Well, yeah.
Just have a diverse eating pattern, unless you have an autoimmune system or disorder like you were talking about. But if you're a regular human being, you need to be eating more than just meat.
Yes.
That's stupid.
We are omnivores.
Exactly.
Not only do we have canids, but we also have teeth to process vegetables.
I love vegetables, and I'm always excited to try a new vegetable that I like. It's cool to eat new things, and as long as you keep on eating new things and switching up your patterns, then you don't get, for one, sick of food. I know a lot of people who just could care less about eating, but they don't cook. I think if you actually spend time cooking and mix it up and eat new things, then it's an exciting way to get meals going on, and it's healthier for you too.
Yeah.
You just introduce new things in your system. And that's what's cool about, we always import new goods from overseas and stuff like that. Potatoes aren't from here.
Yeah.
Potatoes are from Ireland and areas like that. We didn't have access to peppers to begin with. A lot of those came from Mexico.
Yeah.
And the list goes on. Chocolate, blah, blah, blah.
Well, of course.
And it's cool to have access to that. It's shameful to have access to that like a lot of countries don't. We can get everything at our fingertips here in just our city. And it'd be best to just utilize that and cook with those things.
Well, yeah. And that is a great thing about being American, is because we have such an access to abundant amount of foods. I feel like a lot of people squander the opportunity to actually eat healthy.
It requires cooking, not talent, but cooking habits and stuff. And people don't want to get up off their butt to. Sometimes I cook for 3 hours, you know what I mean? And that doesn't suck. I like it, because usually I'm not spending a time cooking for 3 hours if I don't have food to carry on through the next couple days too.
Well, let me ask you a question. Is after you spend that 3 to 4 to 5 hour period cooking food, like, how does the food taste after you cook it? Like, when you know you've put in that time, how does it taste?
It's almost always worth the effort. And that's half the thing is if you put in some time into it, the slow roasting of things, reductions and stuff like that, just to become part of a sauce that you put over a protein that's been cooking for a while alongside your 2 and 3 side dishes and a bread that you're doing. I mean, that's awesome. That's a 5-course meal that you throw together, and some of it was kind of complicated. And once you put in so much effort to that and you know what you've got your hands on, it's almost hard to fuck them up. Like if you're doing the things correctly that that you've got that add to this large picture, it's a diagram of steps that make a whole thing happen later on. Once you get all those things rolling, it's one of those things where it's like, this is gonna be better than something that only got whipped up in half an hour.
Oh yeah, like there's one time I ended up smoking. I took a tri-tip, and what I did is I filleted it out into probably about like an 1.5 inch thick, like fillet. Essentially, I just sat there and just rolled it out. And after I did that, I took blue cheese and I just packed it. I just packed it with blue cheese and garlic. Like that's what I did. Just blue cheese and garlic. And I fucking rolled that bitch up. And I wish I had, I couldn't find sewing thread at Walmart. And it was kind of like one of those pinch situations to where I wasn't really thinking what I needed. I was like, oh shit, I gotta fucking sew this shit up. So I ended up just toothpicking it, essentially. I got some big ass fucking toothpicks and fucking just toothpicked that motherfucker. And I'm gonna tell you, when I smoked it, whoo, like cutting into it, it had this like medium rare, and the blue cheese inside of it was just nice and like fucking.
There's a good thing for mentioning too is like, you can bring in ingredients, seasonings, and vegetables from all the places where you can't get them. But the biggest, baddest seasoning that pretty much every continent has access to, pretty easily, pretty much, is wood. Just wood smoke, man. Wood smoke is the best thing you could add. It's just good on veggies. It's good on fucking meat. It's my jam.
Wood smoke, salt, and pepper.
I've heard, wood smoke, salt, pepper. I mean, little garlic powder.
Just keep. Don't you know what? Don't even do the fucking little bit of garlic powder. You know what you should do is take that, instead of doing garlic powder, take garlics, like whole garlics, and then just like slice them up, stick them into a little bit of olive oil, and like kind of saute them into that olive oil. Let that olive oil get nice and garlicky, and then take that olive oil and then spread it onto that piece of meat. So that way you get that sort of like flavor, that more, especially if you're going for like a more Italian flavor.
If we're talking about the grill still, then I can meet you halfway. I'm just not oiling the things I'm sticking on the grill. I oil the grill great, but there's open flame there and I don't want extra heat added. That conducts heat like crazy, and a lot of the meats that I'm cooking have fat content of their own and I don't need to add oil.
Right.
But that being said, about the finest steak sauce you can make is just about what you mentioned, man. You just put some like garlic and olive oil in a skillet, get the oil going and put the garlic into it, and don't even let it change color much. Just bring out that smell, and the oil and garlic on its own is just a killer sauce. If you put jalapenos in it, then hell yeah. Then you got like a monster. I've tried those before and it's like, fuck you, A1.
Yeah.
But I do love A1.
I'm not a big fan of A1.
I just kind of,
you know
like
what?
them.
The thing is I feel like the thing is A1 was meant for steaks, and I am not a big fan of steak sauce. I just kind of feel like a steak, if you cook it right, it doesn't need any sort of additive. Like it needs to be properly seasoned
on that one.
and properly cooked. And if it is cooked in the proper fashion, you should never need any extra. Now, that also being said, I do like to put sauteed jalapenos and onions and then top that onto a steak and then put blue cheese over that while it's smoking.
Well, think about steaks though. Like I don't really use A1 on a steak, but I totally use it on chicken and pork chops. I don't give a fuck. That's great on that shit. I like it.
I've never used it on pork chops.
Give it a
Actually,
shot.
you know what? I could see that being really good on pork chops.
It's awesome. I like it quite a bit, man. It's super good. It complements the like roasted fat whenever you're cooking it on a grill. It's just
Because I mean, I like pork chops with barbecue sauce.
it's a lot like that. You just take away the sweetness. You lose the sugar.
That's fine. I need to lose the sugar.
There you go.
I mean,
It's terrific. I will say this too. Walmart supplies a like $1 bottle of their version of A1, and it's just as good. Same consistency, just as good. 1/3 the price. I've been rocking it ever since.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the things that comes along with buying some of the off-brand shit. It's like sometimes you come across shit to where it's like, oh no, this is just as good, if not better, than the name brand.
Sometimes it's the only way to get it. They actually have their version of a spicy mustard that's really good, a spicy deli mustard, but it's like a Southwest spicy, so it's kind of like an orangey color, and it's got little pepper bits in it. That you can't get that from any other brand.
You know what? Walmart has a brand. I don't know what the sauce is, but on their little turkey wraps that they have in the sort of deli section-ish place where you can get the deli meat and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They do the prepared wraps. And the turkey wraps, they have some sort of Thousand Island dressing on that wrap. I have not been able to figure out where that Thousand Island dressing is coming from.
Secret sauce.
It's a secret sauce because I keep buying different Thousand Island dressings to kind of like match it, and it's either a little bit too like tangy or something like that. So, I mean, it's just I that sauce, man, it just fucking drives me. I can't help it.
I need the sauce.
I think they put crack in it.
Sometimes the sauce is a big deal. It's a deal breaker sometimes. Every once in a while, there's a particular kind of sauce. Like we'll say, for instance, like if I'm ever doing like a breaded chicken sandwich from a joint, or if I'm doing it at my house or whatever, I want a mayo of some kind.
Oh yeah,
I need it on my breaded chicken sandwich. I likes it. Not all the time. And I'm also one of those people like on the mayo subject. There's a lot of, if you need Miracle Whip or mayonnaise, I like them both really. It doesn't really matter to me too much.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Miracle Whip. I just find it to be too sweet.
I think Miracle Whip for me is best on a deli meat sandwich. If you got like a deli meat sandwich and it's got like lettuce and cheese, pickles and things going on there, it's a pretty nice addition.
It's pretty good.
However, like if I was just eating like a hamburger or like I said, like a breaded chicken sandwich or something like that, regular real mayo for me is just better. It's like you could pay attention more to it's like got a tang to it and it's made out of ingredients rather than like you said, being kind of a sweet spread. But then you get like Chick-fil-A has their sandwich sauce. I saw a mock version of that at the store they sell in the bottle now, and it's the same thing. And I've been putting that on sandwiches too, and it's like, I'll be damned.
Yeah.
It's pretty much just like, it seems like a sweet mayo with like spices, and I don't know. They're not going to tell you the secret, but it's good.
Yeah, it's good. Ah, man. I wish they would tell me it because, I mean, I chased it for a little while, and I thought I had it.
Yeah.
I thought I had it, but then I was like, that ain't it.
Bastards.
That ain't it. Yeah, I know. You know what it probably is they probably have like just their own special shit for that.
Yeah.
And it's only for that. Because I know how Walmart works is because they're not going to, all those pre-made subs and all those pre-made rolls and all that shit, it's all, if it gets assembled there, then it comes in a package. Like, this is what the package is. And you're going to put it in, like, and you're going to roll it up. So it has nothing to do
with what's on the shelf.
Or it has nothing to do with the person actually making it. Because a lot of the times when you receive, like, food from people, it's because of the person actually making it. Whereas these are actually, they're pre-packaged, essentially.
Yeah, they actually do that too in some of their salads. I one time was doing stuff on the grill and didn't want to mess too heavily because it's doing grilled jalapenos and other stuff. I didn't want to make a large side, and there was like a prepackaged like salad mix with bacon and some stuff. I've never bought it again since. I always just fuck with my own shit, but like when I did buy it, it came with its own like square packet of sauce.
Yeah.
That was awesome. It was real good. And then it became really obvious that's not a thing that's available to pick up. You can't buy that. And I was like, damn, that thing, the salad mixture was like less than reputable. It had good bacon, but that dressing they picked out, somebody knew what's up. It was great.
I think they just make it just good enough. Like
just good enough to be the star of that product.
Yeah, exactly. It's just they find whatever sauce or whatever they're selling in it, and because I mean they have access to all of that. Because I mean, if you're gonna sell in Walmart, they're like, hey, you're gonna fucking pay this price. So it's not like they don't fucking know what the fuck is in their fucking store. So when they sell their own thing that's an off-brand, they go, well, it's not the same. It's not the same because it's better. You know, most of the time they sell the thing because it's like it's a cheaper version, and you're just gonna get the quality what you get.
Well, what I've come to expect with a lot of their versions of products is like I've tried store brand products at many different stores, and it's hardly the same. But then meanwhile, you got Walmart, who's such a damn big name that when they crank out a store brand product, it's actually got a bit more quality to it, or at least is more, resource funded and friendly to like crank out a product that's better to eat.
But I think that's just because they have the ability just to steal product. Like they're not a friendly company. It's not.
They bring in these products that are great ideas, and then they kind of dissect them and figure out what they can take away from that exact product to individualize it enough to make it their own by adding 2 or 3 other things. And, and sometimes the 2 or 3 things they add after taking out 2 or 3 things make it a better product, and it's like, uh-oh. Yeah, there are some things I only strictly buy store brand from Walmart. Most condiments, not all. But Cool Whip, if you ever mess with that, like I do the light Cool Whip on like banana puddings and things. And sometimes when I do like desserts, I did my own, I'll get into that in a second, but like, yeah, you buy into all these, name brand products and just save some money and have almost the better product sometimes.
Yeah. I mean,
sometimes the savings are great. Like I said, that steak sauce is my jam. That new steak sauce I'm using is 1/3 the price, and I ain't looking back. And the biggest difference is it's not a glass bottle. And I don't need a glass bottle, so don't charge me for it.
That is true. Yeah, I mean, but that is part of a free market capitalist society, is the fact that you can actually take a product that is probably overpriced and then price it down to where like everybody can buy it. Anybody can buy it. And that's what Walmart does, and that's actually a kind of a good thing. But it's also kind of a bad thing because it does end up just chewing up small businesses and small people, because they don't negotiate with people. You are going to get paid what Walmart pays you. That's their kind of business model. It's like we're going to tell you what we're going to sell it for, and you can just do what you want about it. This isn't, I mean, you can negotiate a little bit, but it's not like, bro, this is supposed to be this amount. Like they have too many fucking like accountants and fucking everybody in order to like be able to shut that shit down.
Yeah. You can tell too, like, I mean, it's kind of a shame, but like the most affordable product is probably through Walmart usually. Most of the times if I'm looking for a thing, it's just cheaper to go and get it at Walmart. And it's just because they're a monster.
Unless you can buy it directly from the manufacturer.
Yeah, and usually you can't. I mean, especially when you're in a pinch. If you're doing something fast, grocery shopping, for instance.
Yeah.
It's like, damn, that sucks. But, I mean, then again, though, the things that I like to get my hold of, proteins and vegetables and shit, aren't typically too expensive. I'm looking for chicken, and that's cheap. And vegetables are usually fairly cheap, depending on what you're getting your hands on. And like now that I've been processing foods with my like a new food processor and stuff like that, that opens up the door to like things that you're not used to fucking with. And making my own salsas is cool too. You do fresh ingredient salsa and then cooked ingredient salsa. They're 2 different great things to utilize. But I've been doing more than that too lately. I made awesome banana ice cream, and all it takes is bananas.
Yeah.
You take bananas and you wait until they're ripe enough, not brown ripe like with banana pudding, or I'm sorry, banana bread. You don't want it that ripe. You just want them ripe enough to where they'd be good for like breakfast. They're sweet and they're not got that earthy taste anymore.
They're getting those like little brown spots.
Yeah, just started doing that, lost the rest of its green. Any tiny bit of green in the stem isn't the end of the world, but the banana itself should be free of that. And then once you got that going on, you take the banana and peel it all the way, cut it into bits. Like an 8-cup food processor can take like 6 bananas, but that's a good amount. That would make enough for like 5 servings easily.
Yeah.
But you chop them up, you put them in a big bag, and you freeze them. I froze them with some lemon juice on it to keep the bananas from browning any, and that stopped them from browning any while they were exposed to air and stuff. And you take them once they've been frozen. 6 bananas took like 6 hours. It took a while, but you dump them when they're completely frozen and don't have any squish to them anymore, and just put them straight into the processor, and they grind up into like kind of a oatmeal looking, like Dippin' Dot frozen tidbits kind of texture. But you keep rocking, and then you throw in just a tiny bit of milk while it's going, and it blends smooth into straight up soft serve banana ice cream, man. And it's super good for you. And it only just took a tiny splash of milk. I put some peanut butter in it, and it's really hard to tell it's not ice cream. They say that you can just flavor blast it like crazy. The other thing I did was, so it had 2 ingredients to it, 3 if you count the splash of milk I used, and that makes it healthy as fuck. And then like, not only that, but I made this berry blend that was just raspberries, blueberries, and strawberries blended into pureed goodness. And you add a teeny bit of sugar to it and cook it in a pot. And you get it bubbling and reduce some to where it's syrupy, and you just made your own like incredible berry sauce, and it goes incredible on the ice cream you made too. It's wicked. It's really good. And you can eat the banana ice cream straight out like soft serve. The second it gets blended up, it's ready to rock. But if you put it in the freezer for like 2 or 3 hours, it gets to like that ice cream texture that a scoop will make whole like round scoops out of. And it's weird, dude. And it's real good for you. It's one of those things to where my son came up to me. He's like, "Hey, can I have some of that banana ice cream for breakfast?" I'm like, "Pfft. Oh yeah, you can. It's just bananas."
Yeah.
So that's fine. It's like, how bizarre. That is okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I could have ice cream for breakfast. Ooh, that'd be really good on top of like waffles or pancakes.
Shit, yeah.
Because then you would actually be putting like some sort of nutritional value onto their like fucking breakfast and shit.
And the whole berry sauce that I made too, just a good like 3 tablespoons over whatever you put. That's like a serving of like super antioxidant benefit, because you're just cooking raspberry, strawberry, and blueberries into a purple, syrup.
Into purple?
Into cooking it into this kind of crazy purple that you see here.
Yeah, that's how you actually make purple cauliflower.
There you go, with berries.
With berries.
But another cool thing too is just adding that I added a tiny bit of lemon juice to the berries as well, so they keep longer. And whenever you put the berries, or whenever you put anything to a citric acid like that, it extends the shelf life. And that sauce is, man, it's good. It's real good. And I mean, you don't have to add any sugar for real. Like I only just added like a teaspoon of sugar to like fucking 3 pounds of berries, simply to help to thicken a bit more while it was cooking on the stovetop.
Yeah. I mean, even then, it's like, when it comes down to even your like sugar intake, it's also like important to understand, like when you're taking that sort of sugar, you just need to have an outtake. It's not a bad thing to necessarily eat something that's sweet. Like, it shouldn't be a bad thing, but it's just it matters about, there's a balancing effect. If you're eating a bunch of sweet shit, you just need to make sure that you're balancing that out with some sort of physical activity that actually like utilizes that sort of like fuel source.
Or even just recognizing the fact that there's a lot of natural sugars out there anyhow, because even though I threw together ice cream sundaes, there was 1 teaspoon of added sugar, not per sundae, just per whole fucking entirety.
Yeah.
And that's added sugar is really what gets you. And I bake a little, but I'm always making desserts and yummy things. I just don't add a salt and sugar if I can, man. If you can get it naturally, like, there you go. That's all you need.
Well, that is true. And you know what? One of my favorite like sweet snacks is a little bit overripe banana.
Delicious.
Just not brown banana, like not pudding brown banana, like, but that little bit of an overripe towards it just has that sweetness to it.
Check it out. I got some bananas getting ready. If you come over on Wednesday, I'll make a fresh batch of banana ice cream out of it and let you check it out.
Do it.
I'll do that.
We'll do it.
Let's do it.
I'm down.
We're gonna have.
I want to have some fucking ice cream.
Have you try that? You're gonna love it. It's great. It's really weird because, like, if you ever go for like,
the thing is I'm trying to remember the last time I actually had ice cream.
Oh yeah.
2 years ago, 3 years ago.
It's insane how it just passes for ice cream. The entire banana texture gets diminished in the fact that it was frozen solid and that you're using the same method as making ice cream. You're blending down that ice. It just comes out as ice cream. And if you add a tiny bit of peanut butter to it, it's really difficult to tell that it's not a dairy product. And there's just none there. Unless I had to use a tiny bit just to pull it away, because once it thickens up into kind of that like oatmeal consistency, just because it is fully frozen, it starts to bond, and so you start spinning blade and stuff stops turning, and so you just stick it down a tiny bit and add some moisture, and it fixes it up. And it doesn't take much, just a splash of milk. It's just, it's like not enough milk to make it a dairy product, that's for sure.
Well, yeah.
Just a little. And it's awesome, dude. It was, I was seeing so many different ways to customize and turn it as far as flavor options, dumping berries in it. I could use my berry mixture to turn it into a berry banana ice cream, and it'd probably be out of this world.
Yeah.
I just poured it over it, though.
But even then, like when you're like chopping up berries and put berries into it, like even the berries themselves are actually good for you because they're also providing nutrition and different stresses into the body and everything like that. So like just the natural fruit and the natural, I mean, that's what it is. It's a natural fruit. Is it kind of like a sorbet?
It blends it into, like, if you take the fresh fruit and blend it down into virtually nothing, it turns it down into a close to a puree. So it's just shy of being a spread almost on its own. But with the berries, there's so much moisture to it. It made the consistency of something that was just shy of being its own sauce because it was kind of thick. It literally only took being heated up.
And then when it froze, it became this ice cream like consistency.
The bananas themselves, you blend those bitches up and they turn into a weird, smooth, soft serve texture right out the gate. That makes them edible first thing. I was spooning those bitches into like sealed tight containers though, because I wanted to freeze them. And 2 to 3 hours later, those things come out in whole scoops. And it's kind of crazy to have that option. It goes from soft serve to regular ice cream, so you can eat it either way.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's really good. It's whenever I whip it up, I'll whip it up at the house so I can show you, and then we'll just have it fresh from the thing because it's totally doable that way.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Those are good.
And another thing we'll have to get down on is some front mission. We've been getting down on some front mission. Oh man, that game. Just the tactical strategy of the game to be able to like, okay, you can only maneuver this far and you can shoot here and then you're only going to get this sort of percentage. Like you don't get that sort of gameplay nowadays. It's just all like up close, like blah blah blah, everything's going or like, you know, you have to create this to do this, and it's
I just love that they trust me with stats. You know, I love to see numbers. That percentage on screen means a lot. I mean, hell, that dictates where I move. You know, I moved to one spot and it showed me that I was at 61% chance of hitting a guy with my spread on my rifle or shotgun. So I backed out and moved to a different square, and I had 74% chances. Like, there's where I need to be.
Yeah.
Because there's a blend. You can be too close or too far away.
Yeah.
And that's important to mitigate that. And those numbers on screen help decide that for you. It's awesome.
Oh, yeah. And it's like strategy games like that are honestly in rare fashion in today's time because you really don't have because they lead you through the events. The one game that's like really strategy based that I really kind of find in today's time is Dark Souls, because you really have to have a strategy in order to beat bosses and stuff. Because I mean, I am stuck on several bosses in I have never beaten a Dark Souls game.
I recognize the one that you're on currently, the Dark Souls 3.
Yeah.
I recognize that one as being probably the toughest of the 3 Dark Souls, but I was fortunate enough to have beaten the other 2 and to kind of have picked a sick enough blend on a particular character build that was just crucial for several bosses. If I didn't make my dude the exact same way I did, I would not have beaten that game as fast as I did. It took me like 2 weeks.
No, I am stuck. I am stuck and I am stuck. Like I am stuck like you've never been stuck before.
I imagine, dude. There was I can blame one move on my guy that I was capable of doing on just smearing 2 bosses that I have heard were fucking hot handfuls. And for me, they just weren't. They didn't really get going. And I was like, I didn't recognize that as being a tough fight. But I have heard that they are the kind of boss fights that hung people up for lengths of time. And there were 1 or 2 bosses also that were vastly more difficult that crushed me on a fairly, regular basis. I get beat a dozen times or so, but then still same move ends up being the star of the show. And if I didn't have it, I wouldn't have stood a chance and I had to grind more and just leave.
Which bosses were they?
To be particular, there was one guy that happened right after I found the move. The move was called Chaos Bed Vestiges. And if you're a pyromancer, it's like a spirit bomb with one hand made out of lava. And it's got the most punch to it out of any magic spell I've tossed around in that game. And it would stop giant 4-legged bosses in their tracks when it hit them on the snout. It was bang, and they'd drop, or they'd just stop where they're at. And the boss I used it on, I used the first time and knew it would be an issue if I didn't have it, was in the chaos bed. And you're down in this like hellish looking like plain area. And it's like a big fucking 4-legged motherfucker that spews fire. And like, I would drop him with that. And it would open up my opportunities to land single-handed giant sword strokes with my like 2-handed sword. And so my strength and pyromancy were through the roof. And it really sealed the deal on several bosses. Punch power, knock him down, slice, huge damage. And I would die a dozen times on the way to that, but it was obvious that it had to be that way. It's like, I gotta do this.
Yes.
And that boss was the one I remembered the most. I was like, fuck, if I didn't have this, would not have been doable.
Well, I remember there were bosses to where you had a very easy time with them, and I have absolutely struggled with like what was it? The Paladin?
Pontiff Sullivan. I think you've talked about having a hard time.
Like, yeah, the guy to where it's like, at first you fight him. And
he's like on that stairwell. It's like a big stairs leading into that cathedral looking place, right?
No, it's that one place to where it was easy to grind out a lot of souls. And that was the first place you got to. That was a big grinding spot because you can kill dudes like kind of, I think it was on the way to the cathedral. It's like some sort of knight dude with the fucking pointy hat.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
He was a pain in the ass a little because he beat me once, but while he was doing it, he got smeared, and I was like, "No, you're fucked." And like I went in there and just cruised through him the second time. I don't know if he even touched me much.
Yeah,
but
I remember
it's because
that.
I was able to like riposte, and like I was capable of blocking and doing shit in such a way with him that would leave him open, and then I would just chunk him. Or that chaos bed thing, I'd slap him with that and it'd do the same thing. It'd just stop him up, and he's couldn't handle it's all about that opening. If I've got enough pool to support throwing the pyromancy technique, I can kind of just blast him when he's coming in hot, stop him short so I don't have to come to him.
Yeah.
And he falls flat in front of me a little bit and gets cleaned up by my like damage weapon, and then I roll out. And it ended up being pretty good, but I actually managed to riposte him during the fight. He swung on me with a sword. It's like, pa-ding! And it just like staggered him, and I gave him the like run through technique, or like I flattened him out or some shit. And I was like, wow, that was one of 2 or 3 bosses in all of those games I was capable of doing a successful like parry riposte combo on. It's funny because you forget you can usually do that. I know that some people that thrive on those 4 games, 5 if you count Demon Souls, they're all about riposting every boss, and I just haven't been able to hammer that. It's such a risk, in that kind of game, to put yourself in front of the boss and try to like parry his teeth. And it's just, you usually don't think about the option, but it's a deal breaker.
It is a deal breaker.
That's a way dudes with no armor
you know what?
get through it.
I have to do it.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way that I can get past the bosses in order to be able to do it.
It's about creating windows of opportunity or just preying on the teeny ones they offer
I
you.
don't have the pyromancy in order to be able to do it. I'm not a pyromancer.
Yeah, I started out that way. I noticed with Dark Souls 3, it was the first game that would give you option for the pyromancy flame upon also being proficient with a blade.
Yeah.
Like right off the bat, I could use a sword and was able to toss fire. And I was like, well, this isn't a big sword. My dude's not strong like the knight or anything like that. but just being able to, because I remember in one of the older Dark Souls, it was really wicked that there was eventually a wand for magic that doubled as a sword. And it was like, oh man, if I was a magic using guy, I could sling magic with that and then stab a guy with it or riposte him. And oh man, that'd be a game changer.
Riposte in magic.
Yeah. But
riposte and stab.
Meanwhile, they kind of gave that up for me already. It's one of those things where it's like, shit, I get pyromancy flame and the ability to use a good weapon. So like I just got good at strength and I became like fat wooden club swinging balls of fire throwing motherfucker.
Yeah.
Hard to fuck with. That game would have been very difficult if it wasn't for that build. That was the easiest time I had in a Dark Souls game, and it was on the hardest Dark Souls game to come out. I've heard that largely, and I recognized it mid-gameplay, but if it wasn't for my character build, it would have just not happened as easily as it did.
They made there was like one perfect character, and you would have had to have played multiple Dark Souls in order to figure that out.
Well, I kind of got lucky. In the other Dark Souls games, I made the mistake of blending too much.
You know what? I'm gonna pee. You keep on this fucking.
Yeah.
Yeah. You keep doing that.
Throughout.
Fuck pee.
Fucking pee. You get the fuck out of here and go fucking pee, dude. I was about to chase you out of here. I was going to make you go pee.
Well, you should.
So it's lucky that you had to do that on your own. But in Dark Souls, well, Demon Souls, the Dark Souls series, and Bloodborne, I've kind of been too traditional RPG about it, and I started making character builds that were too blended. So I'd have a guy who was proficient in strength, but he's also kind of agile because I wanted to use a bow maybe sometimes, although I never did. And I knew that I'd be in a spot if I couldn't at least heal myself, so I devoted a tiny bit to the wisdom and intelligence categories. And then, you know, at that point, you know, if you're doing vitality and all the other shit, like you've just got too good of a blend going and your guy will be lacking in a part or two to where at some point somebody is going to stand too much of a threat to you. So beating Bloodborne and the Dark Souls series and stuff was kind of tough for the majority of it. But in Dark Souls 3, I was really able to avoid the toxicity of blending a character like skill tree. Like I really just kind of went ham on like strength, vitality, and like pyromancy power, you know, my ability to like huck that vestige after I found it, because that thing's a game changer. Once I was able to really throw those around, the whole game was all just about timing and like being kind of a like veteran Dark Souls video game guy, because you know, there were bosses there at the end. Like the hardest boss in Dark Souls 3 is not mandatory. He's optional and you don't have to fuck with him. As a matter of fact, even getting to him or figuring out how to get to him is unreasonable. They don't make it apparent at all how you get there. It's once you find out, I accidentally read it in a forum what was supposed to happen because it was like a small video clip. But you'd never find it out on your own, and I was really disappointed in that. Because like once you find out how to do it, it's like, oh, you kind of look at the whole situation and where you're supposed to do what you're supposed to do, and you're like, that isn't even close to being something I could have found out on my own. Because there's like a greeting that you have to use, and you have to use it in a particular spot, and you have to hold it down for like a minute and a half, and nothing will happen otherwise. And the only actual like that might be him, that motherfucker right there, yeah, that guy, he rides a dragon, but you don't realize that that's not the whole boss fight. You'll take out the dragon and he'll square up with you on his own. It's like, god damn it, it makes it really difficult, but you don't have to fight him at all. So it was really kind of cool that they made the toughest boss in the entire game really difficult. Yeah, that motherfucker's awfully tough. I forgot. Yeah, Nameless King. Go beat him. If you haven't beaten him, beat him. He's hard to fight.
Every fucking boss on there is hard to fight.
That was one of those fights, because some boss fights in video games, they get you going. Yeah, there he is on his dragon. Fucking.
That's a goose.
Oh, yeah, somebody went ahead and funnied it a little bit, didn't they? Yeah, if you click any of these other pictures, that's what it really looked like. But you don't actually have to fight him. I was really proud of them for putting the toughest boss fight in the game and making it like not mandatory at all. It's actually cool because it gives you an entire area, one whole big ass area to grind that you don't have to go to. It's very cool. It's like in-game DLC. But I will tell you, it's not something that you'd be able to just figure out. You have to use a particular greeting towards an area off in the distance and remain there for a couple minutes. It's really stupid. But once you go there, he's really very, very tough. Not by a lot. I will say the last boss in that game is kind of unforgiving, but not fair. The last boss in Dark Souls 3 for me, I don't even want to get into it, is kind of a middle finger. It was a preventative measure. They did not want you to beat the game.
Well, yeah, but I also feel like there's a lot of those bosses in that game. Like
that might have been, if anybody else had an easy time with that, they might have had a better build for it than me, because that guy gave me fits over and over and over again.
But I also think that's the thing about Dark Souls is like it's going to give you fits. It's designed for you to necessarily,
to a degree. I don't know.
There's a way for you to win. It's one of those things you can win, but most likely you're not.
I'm not actually the kind of guy that'll shit too much on the game for being unfair, though. That was simply a middle finger. That last boss fight was we don't want you to beat the final installment. You don't want to. It was the first time I beat a boss in that game and was just literally like, fuck you. Fuck you. I'm fucking over this. God damn it. Because I had been sitting there so long, and it wasn't the first day. And I was just fucking over it. I beat it.
It wasn't the first day.
No, I had gotten off work and tried it. And the disappointing, crushing thing about Dark Souls is if you work a full-time job, you fight these motherfuckers and they wreck you, and they literally neutralize 4 hours of like progress if you lose all the souls on them. Like, say you didn't know they were there.
Yeah.
And you walk through the mist thing or do whatever, and then they just took your souls and you lose them, and eventually you work your way to where you never got them back. And then it's like, oh, cool. I spent my entire afternoon after work, literally 4 hour stretch, like between getting off work and having to go to bed, just getting mad at this guy and not achieving anything. I've got nothing to show for it. And that's that game bearing its teeth at its worst. But like, I don't think it should be unfair. That boss fight was not fair, at least not for my particular character build. He did one of those things to where he has one move that you cannot defend. And if you're in the line of fire for it, it took every bit of what health I had. And that was legendary for my particular build. I had a guy who was really good at withstanding that sort of shit. I wore heavy armor. And he got me on my way to my souls. He got me on my way to enough souls to level up twice on an endgame character. It was a huge amount. And he licked me with it from fucking all the way across the field. It was just, I wasn't looking at him, and I was running in a straight line to my thing, and then I didn't quite get there, and he had charged that motherfucker up and followed me with it, and bam, stopped me up from 90 feet away. It was like, God damn it. But, you know, them's the breaks, I suppose.
Yeah. The Souls breaks.
That made it even worse to where I had to beat the game. I had to do it. I had to beat the game. Got to beat this motherfucker, but it took several days, and I wasn't too pleased after I beat it either. I just felt like it was a middle finger, but it was a great game anyway. It just like, I felt like it was a bad note to leave off on, because even though like it was very reminiscent of the boss with like the old hunter dude, like in Bloodborne, that dude, that was a very, very hard fight, but it didn't feel like a middle finger necessarily. And it was built the same kind of fight, same kind of setting, same one-on-one dude, sort of your size, you know, licking out terrible techniques that has like 2 forms. So I thought I was about to beat him, but no, it gets worse. And then it felt good though. It felt good to beat that game. And when I beat Dark Souls 3, it wasn't quite the same. I was like, oh, fuck. Goodness gracious, I'm over that. That wasn't actually any fun. It was like a rotten cherry to top off the game.
Right. I wonder how many people actually had that like rotten cherry. I bet most of the people have that rotten cherry.
Most of the people would actually beat it. Yeah.
And I even have that fucking rotten cherry on it now. It's like, I haven't even fucking beaten the damn thing. Well, it's like,
that's what makes me wonder if I didn't just pick the wrong build to fight the final boss. It was the best build for the rest of the game, but that motherfucking last boss, it felt like I had to cheese techniques and just slave over my like fucking Estus flask at all in order to like keep afloat. My whole fight was like attack, heal, and it was not at all a way to go. It made it really difficult to eventually win by a hair.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's Dark Souls for you. I mean, they're gonna
It is.
they're gonna throw you one. I mean, if you figure out the game, they're gonna fucking throw you a curveball. I mean, that's the way they fucking do it. That's the way they fucking operate. That's every single fucking game that they have ever done. It has been that way, to where it's like you have to have this understanding of the games prior to like going into them, or you have to play through them in order to figure out what you need to do in order to go back. Like even with the whole pyromancy and like shit, I was like, I'm gonna go with the shield and sword. Dude, I am ruling. Like, I am not like, I did really good through the first part of Dark Souls. I did really good.
Yeah.
Like, there was parts to where you're like, oh, you beat him in like a turn. Like, there was like some first couple of bosses to where I remember you saying to where it's like, it took me like 12 tries, 13 tries. Well, not 12 tries, but like it took me like 5 or 6 tries in order to beat this boss, and it took you only one. You know, like some of those early on bosses.
Yeah.
And I fucking waxed them. But now I've gotten to the point to where it's like, there's no way I can beat these bosses.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Like, I've gotten to that point to where it's like, oh shit, I've hit a brick wall. Like, I've hit that brick wall, and that's where I'm at with Dark Souls. And what sucks is because it's like, it kind of makes me make it to where I don't necessarily want to play the game, because now there's other games to really play. So it's like, I've hit this brick wall, and it's like, I could go back and I could keep grinding, keep grinding, and like make my guy better and better and better. Or I could start over, but if I start over, then I start over.
Yeah, starting over in a From Software game is actually kind of heartbreaking. It's one of those things that's not near as easy to start over in those RPGs as it is in a regular RPG.
For sure. And I'm about halfway through this bitch.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, do I start over and like recreate my character in order to be better at dealing with the bosses, and like, you know, knowing that I should be more pyromancy and sword guy, you know, that's where I should pump my money, like, not my money, but, you know, I should pump my points into, is that. But I don't know, man, it's just, it's a hard one to go back to. It's a hard one to go back to, because I know the thing is like, you don't play Dark Souls in order to necessarily have fun. Like, you do, but you don't.
Right. It's kind of a task. Like, you want to, like, it's very, very good stuff. I love the Dark Souls games. However,
I think it's more about bragging right. Like, I have the right to brag about it.
I don't know. Like, I mean, not necessarily. I love From Software games. I've been a fan of Kingsfield series, and Armored Core is good, but it's not the same. Kingsfield was my jam. Shadow Tower and Eternal Ring. Hard-ass RPGs have always been their thing, and I love that. So Dark Souls is really good. It just adds, though, that they have that like really dark architecture, and the stuff that's really just kind of freaky to look at. Like, it borderlines horror games just by the fucking like fantasy creatures that they've got. And then they crapped out Bloodborne, but it is kind of a horror game.
Yeah,
and it's fucking like Victorian Gothic like structures and stuff like that. They just pushed that game in the correct direction with Bloodborne. That was a home run. But they know what they're doing. Those are great games. Really hard RPGs. Simple to look at first. Seems like it's almost too simple a structure to be a like formidable game, but it is just like timing, heavy weaponry, like consequences for each shot. It's awesome.
Yeah.
You ain't getting this game beat, and you ain't getting your hand holded. Like, they don't want you fucking around. It's gonna be hard to fuck with.
They don't want it. No, and they don't. You know, it's really great.
I love it.
Where are we at in this podcast? Oh,
I see.
we're not too bad. That's not too bad.
That's not terrible.
That's not terrible. I like to not know where I am at, because it keeps shit going.
Yeah, no, it's the best kind of
Because I kind of feel like when the shit's just like right there in your face and you can look over and be like, oh, this is how long we've been doing it. You know, it's like it kind of creates.
It's like keeping your eye on the clock at work. It's just not good. You don't do that. I don't like looking at the clock. I get pissed when people tell me what time it is. Fuck you. You know, I wanted to know what time it is naturally.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, it's only 2:00. God damn it.
You know how I know when it's time? It's when I have to go pee.
Yeah, I need to pee.
Like, I need to pee here.
I need to pee here, and then I need to pee over there.
Yeah, once in that corner and once over there on those boxes. And once I do that, I'm good and I'm ready to work.
Yeah, I got to pee a few times during the day where I want to pee.
Where I want.
No, I hate knowing what time it is. That shit pisses me off.
Yeah.
I always try to avoid looking at what time it is. I don't want to know what time it is.
Yeah. Oh man, so I've been hitting my bag way more.
Yeah.
Like I've been getting really back into hitting my bag, like just like getting into it. And you know, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that it's like I'm contemplating actually, you know, like getting a pistol or something.
Yeah.
And it's like I feel like if I'm contemplating, you know, kind of like a home defense thing, I really need to like step up my like physical defense, like
somebody
hand to hand defense.
Anthony Smith, the light heavyweight UFC fighter, had a intruder.
Yes,
recently,
he did,
and he had to neutralize that guy. I actually heard in a post the other day that gentleman that intruded his house happened to be like a high school wrestling, like decent kind of guy. So it's like some like halfway fit individual invaded this guy's house. So I mean, yeah, it doesn't hurt to be in physically good shape because the dude that's intruding your house might be a wrestling champ or some shit.
Well, that, and also you don't like. I think buying a firearm is something that, you know, kind of gives you that peace of mind, but you don't necessarily walk into a situation with the fire. Like you're not going to sleep with a holster on, like the Batman, you know, fucking, you know, pistol belt on, unless you're strolling around your house with that fucking belt on all the time, like when you're sleeping and when you're taking a shower. Like, you know, fucking shit happens, and you know, sometimes you're gonna be fucking asleep, and especially me, it's like, you know, most likely, because like me and my brother live fucking opposite schedules and shit. So most likely, if I like got up and I heard something, I might think it's fucking his ass. And if I walk out into the living room and it's not his ass, most likely I'm not going to have a firearm in my hand.
Right.
Because I'm not going to just be like, oh, my brother's in the living room, let me grab my gun.
Yeah, let me grab my gun and make sure.
You know, like make sure it's my fucking brother.
No.
You know, it's like that shit's probably not going to happen. You know, even though I do think that it's a good thing to have a way to defend yourself, like fully, like from point A to point B, you know, like from 0% to where it's like talking your way out of a situation to 100% lethality.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, as far as defending your home, like defending your home, defending your property, and defending like yourself. Like, I think you should have, but you should also have cognitive ability to be able to go from like, you know, to keep it from going all the way to that point of lethality. Like, I think you should understand how to talk to people, and not only that, you should understand how to physically fight with people, like actually be able to utilize your own body as a weapon. You know, I think the whole Anthony Smith situation actually showcases the fact that you do need to understand to know how to fight.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, because he had a wrestling dude in his house. You know what I mean? Like, if that guy was going to come in there and steal your watches or your TV or something, and you came in there and weren't ready to handle business, that dude could control you you know, or hurt you. He could put you down on your back and just kind of handle business if he would like to. You know, if he's in your house and doesn't decide he wants to get caught or stopped, you know, that'd be a problem for a guy who couldn't handle business at all. Even if you had a way to defend yourself, if you strolled in the room with a thing and he threw you on your back, there's a pretty decent chance you can't use it as well. So it's handy to be able to know what you're doing, barehanded.
It is, and not only barehanded, but like to like understand the utilization of items around you.
Oh yeah, I keep tooled up a little. Like next to my front door, I have a tire thumper. I think it's funny that they even had those. It's a billy club.
Yeah.
That says tire thumper on it. It's meant for fucking hitting a person, I'm sure. You know, it's even got a handle for it, and like I'm sure you could thump a tire with it in the fucking 1960s. But,
well, yeah, because the only way to test tire pressure back then was to actually like
knock it.
Dunk. Okay, well,
Sounds
I got
a certain way.
Yeah, this has the right sound. Well, I mean, it makes sense.
In my bedroom, I've got a boarding pike, so it's like a halberd axe with a spear at the end, with a pickaxe at the other end for boarding opposing boats. Back in the day, a boarding pike was invented because it was a multi-tool. It could swing through a guy and do damage to the helmet. The spike end could stick a person, and then the outer hammery spike pickaxe end could be used to actually stick wood, and a full party of people could assist in bringing a boat closer if they were all trying to board it at one time.
Yeah, the thing is like that makes more sense into like this living room area, to where you don't really have like an overhead space, but like when you have that overhead space, I think that like you're going to have a very like limited
that's why it's got a poke on it. I'm not going to use the X function whenever I'm in a close quarters. Just stab a fool.
Yeah.
Because the end of that bitch is like a short sword. It's not like a regular spear tip. But, I mean, to be perfectly fair, the best thing about that weapon is the display. You rear back a full-fledged spear-sized two-handed axe and swing it, and somebody's probably not trying to fuck around anymore.
No.
They've already been caught, and now their life's on the line.
Well, it's kind of like whenever you walk in and all of a sudden you like turn on this bright-ass flashlight that has like 3,000 lumens sort of shit, to where it's like, oh my god, I can't fucking see it, or it's like strobing. Like, you know, like it's supposed to like disorient, it's supposed to like make them like, oh shit, like I'm caught.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
What it does is it creates to where like the only like avenue of escape is right behind them.
Yeah, the way you came.
Because that's the only way you can see. And most likely that's where you need necessarily need to go. But, you know, that doesn't necessarily mean that's where you catch them in your house. You know,
yeah, like it just depends on like the determination factor. I think that like if a guy is determined enough to break into your home, like I've seen some videos recently to where the dudes are very blatant about kicking a latch door off of its like hinges and shit. Like,
yeah,
boom. Like some of these dudes are on their way in. That guy is not taking a strobe light and leaving. He announced himself on the way in.
And see, that's kind of my whole thing of like, if somebody's going to break down my door, and I know it's not the police, because obviously I don't fucking do shit that warrants a SWAT team through my fucking door. You know, I mean, that's kind of like, I don't even play online games.
Right. Yeah, no shit. Yeah.
So it's like, if I have a SWAT team coming through most likely I'm going to get a visit by an investigator first.
Yeah.
You know, like there's going to be provocation for that, you know. But if someone's busting through my door, I would like to have the lethality other than just my hands. You know, it's like,
in a really,
I do believe that I can handle a situation one-on-one with a person that's relative my size. But the thing is there's people that aren't relative my size.
Well, that's why I like my tire thumper. Something like the halberd boarding pike is cool, but like as far as like extending the damage and like danger factor of my like frame, I don't really think it's actually spiking in the best directions. I think that thing's hindering me more than anything. It's tying up both my hands. It weighs like 12 pounds. I mean, it's intimidating behind a dude who can really like handle it, you know what I mean? But versus my tire thumper that just gives me a free hand, if I'm fighting another guy who knows what I'm doing, you got that worry about the boarding pike being removed, perhaps, or even ending up in the wrong hands. If the guy gets 2 hands on it and he's stronger than me and front kicks me, who knows? But if I've got that tire thumper, like I square up, I'm really handy. So's this guy. Or I also have a stick.
Or if you have 2 guys.
Sure, yeah, that tire thumper will seal the deal.
Well, to where if one guy goes up onto the boarding spike and fucking like hugs onto it, even though he can't fucking rip it away from your arms, what it does, it causes him to commit 2 arms onto the weapon, and you have to be committed 2 arms to the weapon. If there's one other party, then they're just going to start teeing off on you, and you have to deal with that attack there, which then you have to give up the weapon in order to deal with the attacker. Right,
or even come off it with one hand, which is essentially getting rid of it.
And then it's a 2-on-1 situation.
Yeah, versus a guy with an axe.
And also, you're being fucking struck at the same time.
Yeah. The boarding pike's not the freshest idea for an actual, confrontation. It's a scary device. And versus one guy, it's fairly, good. But yeah, if you're fighting more than one dude, it'd be a bad thing to have. I wouldn't want to have anything that tied up both my hands. Not even a bat. I'd much rather have something like the tire thumper. That thing is enough to break a hand or an elbow or knock you out. And I only just need that. I don't really need enough to I'm not trying to kill you.
Yeah.
I'd like to dispatch you as quick as possible. I have a family in the house. So it's really one of those things where if I could break your elbows while you're trying to block headshots and then hit you in the head because you can't use that arm anymore, just the quickest thing possible. We're talking about repeated overhand strikes to the same spot.
Well, it's essentially just taking care of the threat as quick as possible.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. It's like, we're not fucking around.
Nah.
It's that's what it comes down to, is like, what's going to happen is probably the most brutal shit that comes about. Whether it's hand-to-hand combat, whether it's with a weapon or whether it's with a firearm. You're going to experience a very, very brutal attack. And that's what, if you're intruding into a person's house, that's what you have to expect.
Well, when you have a guy that breaks into your house and then engages and doesn't try to flee, is only really there for a couple reasons. That guy's either here to cause harm, and it's going to be hard to repel that guy. You're going to have to deal with it. Or you're going to have a guy who's in there and fighting to survive. A guy who's out here looting to preserve a family or to try and stay afloat or some shit. You got a guy in there, if he didn't run away, that's trying to get from you by whatever means necessary. He's probably going to step over you to do it. So if you got to stop that. If you got to swing, something, do that, but don't tie up both your hands. That's not a good idea, especially if you got 2 targets.
Well, also it also depends on what position you're in, because if you're in a sort of position to where it's a sort of free, you're not in sort of grappling, you're not trying to control him with your own body. If you have sort of free area to move about, having a weapon at that point would probably be a little bit more advantageous, to where I think to where when it comes down to grappling, and especially in the Anthony Smith example, when his mother-in-law went and grabbed him the knife, he actually lost control of one of the arms. Yeah. Because now he has a knife in his hand, but he's holding on to the knife and not the guy. So now they're back fighting. He has to ditch the knife in order to fight the guy.
That's why I was talking.
And now you have an extra element into the game to where it's this guy can go grab the knife. That's not a good thing to have in the situation to where it's you already had control of the guy. And now you're losing control of the guy, and now you add an extra element into it. So now you have to bring it. So now, his wife comes in and holds the dude's legs down, and it's just a whole fucking debacle.
Yeah.
It's at a certain point, you have to understand you do have control, and you need, that's. But also I think that hindsight's 2020, and we can sit here and fucking debate things, and we can say how you could do things differently, but what really happens is And here's the whole thing, especially with Anthony Smith, is everybody came out of that alive. That's the biggest note about that, is everybody came out of there alive.
That's incredible.
That's very incredible. With the situation to where a dude broke into multiple homes, broke into multiple cars, he was probably on some sort of, like, what it sounded like was PCP.
Very similar things are kind of happening around here too. Like just down the street from my house, there was a guy trying to break into a home, and the dude caught him on the porch, fiddling with his fucking front door, and scared the dude off. And just like 2 or 3 houses down, somebody else had their car broken into and shit stolen out of it.
Yeah.
So it's like this dude's just hitting house after house, trying to like steal shit.
Take advantage of a crisis.
And that's ballsy, because you got a guy who just caught you, and you're just going to move to right down the street and try it again.
Well, it actually might have been the other way around.
Who knows? Yeah, that's a good point. Could have broken into that car and then went to this dude's house.
Because it's usually most of the time, it's usually an escalation of crimes. So, like, you break into a car because you can see in the car, nobody's in it. Oh, hey, it's unlocked. Here we go. And then it's like, okay, let's move to a house. Let's see what's in a house that I can fucking steal. Because there's more things that I can steal in a house than I can in a car.
I've seen that shit before. Like, it's really weird. One time I was at work, and I was in my mascot outfit by the street doing my thing. And I was turned facing the building at one point, and I could see a car that had its trunk looked like it was cracked open a little bit off in like the not our parking lot, but like Pier 1 or Talbot's that's next to my work. And there's a car over there. It's got its like trunk kind of open, and I couldn't see too, like every once in a while I'd turn over there and just like I'd notice it. It's like I can see that that's not very shut. Well, somebody ran up, or they pulled up behind that car, and they lifted the trunk open and pulled out a duffel bag, and then just drove off, shut the trunk and left. And I'm like, I get the feeling there's like a 95% chance that they didn't know that guy. That was probably just somebody saying, hey, that looks like it's not locked. See if there's anything in there.
Actually, I think it's exactly the opposite. I think they exactly knew what that was. They exactly knew what was happening. And they probably fucking picked up a duffel bag full of money.
Oh, who knows? Well, who knows? I just think the person that owned the car didn't mean to have that shit.
No,
popped.
I think no, yeah. I think you just watched a high level fucking.
It could be. The only reason I don't think so is because it was like the trunk was popped up enough to see it, and it was an incredibly busy afternoon. Like that's why they had me out there in the outfit, for instance. But it was like, you just got all this traffic going up and down the parking lot, and there's one car, you can tell the trunk's open. So it's really 50-50. This person came up and...
But why didn't they get into the car? Why did they just take a duffel bag and then just drive off?
Well, because the people were in the store. There was no people in the car. The people were still like in the store shopping, and it was like a soccer mom and her kid. I saw her came back out later on to get in the car. Because, I've been out there for hours. It's like turn around, stuff like that. And like, I kind of thought the same thing you did. Like maybe this is like an ill intent kind of thing. But then I saw who was driving the car, and it's like, well, that's probably not okay. But who knows? There are very many break-ins, robberies, and things like that.
Why can't a soccer mom be like a high-level drug dealer?
I guess.
Like an opium dealer.
I feel like you're going extreme on it, though.
I mean,
please let the soccer mom be a drug dealer.
Please, God, give me something. Please give me something.
Okay, I saw her murder guy. There was blood dripping out of the bag.
Yeah,
this was a black market organs deal.
No, actually, it might have been one of those things to where somebody saw it. But also, I think it could be an exchange of money.
It could have been several things.
It could have been several things.
Who's to say? It's odd.
Yeah, but odd things happen. Oh, speaking of odd things, apparently I drowned.
Did you?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like when you were a youngster?
No.
Oh.
Like 2 days ago.
Interesting.
No, yesterday. I think I drowned yesterday.
Interesting. I don't get it.
Neither do I. But I started getting text like, "Hey, are you okay? You okay?" I'm like, hey, it's like, and apparently someone drowned at Springfield Lake why I go fishing. I go fishing there all the fucking time.
Interesting.
And someone drowned there, and it was a 30-year-old man. So I started getting this text, and I'm like, okay, no, I didn't drown. Obviously, I'm fucking hitting you back and shit, I know. But, like, reading into it, it was a guy, apparently, from what I understand of reading into it, the guy had, I think, went below the dam because it doesn't, like, the way that Springfield Lake is set up and the way that the wind moves with Springfield Lake, if he was fishing, like, it said that his car was parked next to the dam and there's two different parking lots, one above and one below. I think he parked in the one below and put his kayak below the dam. And of course we've had, it's springtime, so we're getting more rain. So below the dam is actually going to be pretty turbulent. So I'm thinking what happened is he was thinking this, to go out below the dam and fish below the dam with his kayak. Well, when he got below the dam, put his kayak out there, all the turbulence ended up causing him to capsize, and undertows caused him to drown.
Oh, shit.
So he ended up drowning there. And his kayak was found like a couple miles downstream.
Oh, jeez.
And there was some missing persons put out because the people who found it contacted the family, and the family was like, there's missing persons, and they started dragging the lake. They found a body. And it was the dude's body.
Uh-oh.
So that's what I think happened. Well, I started getting texts being like, are you okay? What's up? Hey, that sort of shit. And it's like, yeah, I'm fine. Okay. What's going on? Like, we thought you drowned. Why are you texting me if I drown?
Yeah,
It's like,
wake up.
Why the fuck are you texting me if I'm dead? It's like, if you think I'm drowned, if you think I'm dead, you need to, like, get a hold of somebody who's not me. Because, like, there's one guy, he texted me yesterday, because this shit happened, like, came out yesterday. He texted me I didn't fucking text him until today.
Oh, he died.
He's dead. And it's like, God damn it. It's like, read into the story a little bit.
Right, wait. A guy died and he was 30? My buddy's gone.
Yeah, it's like, fucking read into the fucking story. Man.
That's funny.
It is fun. Even my mom, read into the story.
Yeah. Look into it. Check it out.
Before you start.
Take a look. It's in a book. Reading Rainbow.
I love you, but you got to figure it out before you just start being like, my son is dead.
Dad.
And it's like, of course, it's like, and especially in my mom's case, fucking text my brother.
Yeah, no joke.
Like, he'll fucking know.
He'll tell you right out the gate. Is he drowned? No, I don't think so. He's in the other room.
Well, and also, I posted a text at like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Like, I posted shit on the fucking internet. And it's like...
I didn't die because I was online.
Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty good reason. Because you don't necessarily post shit while you're out fishing.
That's true.
You post shit when you get back.
Right. I'm out here on the lake.
That and all, I'm also not dumb enough to play around a dam.
No, fuck that. I've been out there on the, like, bank fishing, but I ain't going to be in that shit.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
No, fuck that. Fuck all of that. But...
Fuck that, bitch. Suck that. I was born with a wing, but never had a nutsack.
Yeah. You know what? I got the best. Here we go.
Okay. The SCP Foundation? Oh. Okay. I was gonna say, you're gonna show me some new haunted online thingy?
Just go out with this.
There.
Fuck copyright. Because, you know, we're not getting paid for this shit anyways.
It's a good point.
So,
Yeah. Scrimps and juice, bitch.
scrimps and juice, bitch.
Yeah. Yeah. Fuck that.
Got any Chinese spirits up in this Fuck that. Give me
Fuck
some
that.
scrimps and juice. Motherfucker, I'm gonna get loose up in this bitch.
Up in this bitch.
24 with the
Yep.
scrimp and
That's old school.
That is old school.
about to get loose.
I guess it is about that time.
It is about that time. But see, that's the great thing about this. It's because we ain't gonna get monetized. We ain't gonna get, you know, fuck it. And you know what? This is some fucking good ass fucking music by fucking the Psychopathic Writers. It's called Shrimps and Juice. It's a fucking great ass song.
It's the kind of song that painted my youth. It reminds me of old bumping Cadillacs that needed a lot of work done.
Oh yeah.
Double dipping my scrimps. I bite it once, I'll dip it again. I don't give a fuck. Chinese spare ribs in this motherfucker.
Well, of course. Double dipping in this motherfucker.
Yeah, double dipping, double dribble, double bubble. Yeah. That's the best.
Even when I walk, I'm riding.
I think if you got shot in the brain, that would be when you did forget somebody's name.
I think it would be.
I think that's a.
That's a very valid.
It's a silly
time.
thing. It's a silly thing to say. You're not gonna forget when I shoot you in the head, because you very well might. You probably will.
You should forget.
I hope
Forget
so.
a lot of things.
That guy's a superhero. He got shot in the head and remembered my name.
Yeah. Boom. Violent J.
I remember. That motherfucker shot me in my brain. I think we're probably rolling on an hour and 45 minutes, aren't we?
Fuck yeah, we are. But we, you know, I think it's a good thing to go out on some fucking good music.
I agree, but I think we're stretching it out too long.
Well, fuck them.
Well, I've run out of things to say.
Exactly. So why?
Well, guys,
Yeah.
I do think this is the best point to stop.
This is a really great point to stop. And you know what, guys? You got to understand this is the podcast. This is Scuttlebutt Tavern. And you know what? I'm going to say it. You can follow me at TDP Fishing. You can come follow us at fucking the fucking Scuttlebutt Tavern YouTube channel. Leave a fucking comment. Fucking
If you
know,
hit the thumbs up button, but if you've already done that, find the same video on a different mobile device or a computer and hit it again.
and fucking
I dare you to hit it as many times as you can. I bet you can't.
share the shit out of this fucking shit.
I bet you can't hit that button.
I bet you can't either. I bet you can't share the shit out of this either.
Yeah.
I bet you can't. I bet you share it with one person. They'd be like, "Yeah,
You can do better than that.
you can do better.
You can share with several folks, I'm sure of it.
You can share it with every folks."
Sharing is bestest.
And you know what? You guys fucking take it easy. And you know what? Hang tight.
Yeah, hang loose.
Scrimps juice.
Yeah.
Motherfucker, we out.